How can you as an artist, as a music producer, use social media in a way that is not adding more misery to the world? How can you use social media in your marketing and promotion mix in a way that is meaningful, that creates value for other people? This is what I want to answer in this video. If you're new to this channel, my name is Philip from Pick Yourself, and I've built this just to help you create a meaningful life based on your passion for music production and electronic music. And so if that resonates with you, make sure to subscribe. All right, social media, such a big topic, such an important one. And I bet that social media is part of your marketing and promotion mix. And if it's not, then you have like this feeling of, yeah, I should be doing this, but I don't. And maybe some of the reasons why you don't do this is because you just feel very negative overall about social media. If you're not that type of person, if you actually use it in your marketing mix currently, chances are that you're currently using it in a way that is not really fruitful or positive in any way. So let me bring a bit more clarity to this topic overall. I think the biggest issue with social media is that we use it as a tool to signal status. And status signaling is a very primitive way of showing to other people where you currently stand in the social hierarchy. So it's almost like a caveman game. You try to prove to other people that you are somewhat special, that you are living a really good life, that you are someone really influential in your specific scene, and so on and so forth. And I get it, this feels like the natural way of using social media right now because all the big influencers are living this seemingly perfect life and so on and so forth. So obviously people who aren't at that level yet try to imitate it because this is supposedly the way you grow a big following. Now, I want you to try out a different strategy, and let me explain this and the reasons behind it. So I think the only question that you should be asking yourself when creating content is, how can you enrich someone else's life? How can you inspire them? How can you create something of meaning that makes their day better overall? Because in the grand scheme of things, you have a responsibility for your audience. You don't want to make their life more miserable by just adding more fuel to the instant gratification loop of social media, where they actually leave the platform and are just feeling horrible. You want to be the person that's outstanding in their feed, that adds some positivity or some realness at least. It doesn't have to be all shiny and positive, but some realness and depth and clarity. This is how I think about it, and it's something that I try to do with these videos as well. They are currently my main form of doing any form of social media, and yes, YouTube is social media as well. So the way I try to come up with content is not to think, okay, how can I create something that makes me look cool or awesome? I'm thinking about how can I help someone out there, and even if it's just one person that watches such a video and gets something out of it, I have accomplished that goal. And this is amazing because it also removes all that pressure of how you want to be seen, how you want to be perceived. It adds some realness, and honestly, giving something out there into the world that helps someone, it just feels awesome. So yes, there's also a selfish component to that, but it's a win-win for everyone. And this is also how you can think about creating content as an artist on social media. Now, there are obviously different ways of doing this. It doesn't have to be a super in-depth long blog post video or anything at all, so this is not important. But I think you can, even with small things like you got a new piece of gear, let's say. You got a new piece of gear, and the typical way of posting about this piece of gear is something like a super flashy photo with you and the piece of gear, and you tweak some knobs and you try to be seen as the cool artist that gets a new piece of gear and now everything sounds amazing. I get it, this would be the standard way of doing it. But what if? What if you actually did like a tiny mini tutorial of letting people know of why you chose that piece of gear, showing them what you can do with it, how you think it will improve your sound, and just giving a little bit of a behind the scenes that actually enriches their life. Just a super tiny tweak, but already it feels much different compared to just posting what awesome expensive new tool you got. And just to give you an example of exactly that, when I talked about my travel setup, the travel setup that I used while I was working from Tuscany for 2 months, you can just go back to that video. This was not a way to show off my incredible studio that I have here in Berlin. I could have also done a behind the scenes studio tour here and show people all the amazing tools and so on and so forth. But instead I chose the opposite. I showed them my travel setup, and yes, that has some high quality pieces in there, but I'm explaining the the big reasons behind that, why I think this makes a lot of sense, and why I think that in some cases it makes more sense to invest like in some areas than in others, for example. So even that, when it is a gear episode, I was thinking about, okay, how can I help someone out there create a minimum but high effective setup? And so for those of you who are new to the channel, I always do these videos while walking my dog, and now he's playing again. Oh, it's so hard to focus sometimes with that. I hope you still enjoy it. So back to the point here. So even when I do a gear episode, it still has to do with how can I make this useful to someone out there. All right, I will now take care of my dog. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this strategy? How do you want to implement this? Was it helpful to you? I would love to hear from you. See you next time.